Welcome back to Top 5 Water Repairs. Today's topic, I'm going to tell you guys why your valve cover keeps leaking after replacing the valve cover gasket. The first common reason why the valve cover keeps leaking engine oil after replacing it with a brand new gasket is because the mating surface on the cylinder head and the valve cover itself is full of old gasket, and that should be removed. So make sure to remove the old gasket and silicone from the valve cover and on the cylinder head. You can use a plastic gasket scraper, or you can use a razor blade, and this is my favorite way to remove the old gasket from the cylinder head and on the valve cover. Whatever you do, do not use a wire brush on the cylinder head because the cylinder head is made of aluminum and it scratches very easily. Here's an example of why you shouldn't use a wire brush. As you can see, it leaves a lot of scratches, and this can definitely cause your valve cover to start leaking engine oil if you scratch too hard. The next common reason why the valve cover keeps leaking engine oil after changing the gasket is because when you're putting the valve cover onto the cylinder head, the valve cover gasket probably came out of place. And then when you try to put the valve cover on it, it's not going to seal all the way. To prevent the brand new valve cover gasket from coming out of place, just use silicone and put a little bit of silicone inside the cavity of the valve cover, and this will hold the brand new gasket in place. The next common reason why your valve cover again is leaking engine oil is because maybe you over tighten the valve cover bolt. If you over tighten the valve cover bolt, this will cause the gasket to split, again contributing to that engine oil leak. Whatever you do, do not use an impact to tighten the bolts. However, you can use an impact to start the bolts to get in place, but do not tighten it. When tightening the valve cover, make sure you tighten the bolts in a star pattern like this. That way the valve cover will be tightened evenly all around. Also, make sure you use a torque wrench and make sure to torque all the bolts according to spec. For some valve cover, you may need to apply silicone on every single corner, and on some valve cover, when you see a half moon cut out like this, you also need to apply silicone on it as well. Here's an example. If you have a valve cover that has a 90-degree corner like this, make sure you apply some silicone on the corner right there. And if you have a valve cover that has a cutout like this, make sure you apply silicone on the corner over here, and also apply a lot of silicone up here as well. And make sure you allow the silicone to dry for at least a few hours before you start your vehicle. Make sure you pay attention to the bolts. Make sure you're not missing any bolts on the valve cover, and make sure you're not missing any nuts as well. Also, pay attention to the length of the bolts. Some bolts may be longer and some bolts may be shorter. For example, let's just say this part over here needs a short bolt and you accidentally put a longer bolt, and when you try to tighten this up, this may not tighten all the way. Again, there will be no clamping force between the valve cover and the mating surface, again contributing to an engine oil leak. Here is something that I see that happen pretty often. Make sure you don't accidentally pinch a wiring harness, because on most valve cover, there's going to be some sort of wiring harness that goes over the valve cover. And if you don't pay attention to the wiring harness and you accidentally pinch it like this, like in the corner, and you're tightening it up and you didn't notice it, again, that's going to cause a gap between the valve cover and the mating surface, again, contributing to that engine oil leak. Here's something that I see that happen pretty often. Maybe you accidentally broke the valve cover. For example, let's just say you forgot to remove one bolt and you put a pry bar or a screwdriver in it, and you try to remove it and you have no idea that one bolt is still on it, and then you accidentally broke the valve cover, again, that's going to contribute to that valve cover oil leak. And lastly, maybe you applied way too much silicone on the brand new valve cover gasket. You should only apply a very thin layer on the brand new valve cover gasket. The valve cover gasket itself should be able to prevent engine oil from leaking out of the valve cover. I hope you found this video useful. As always, thank you for watching and subscribe to Top 5 Auto Repairs.